Hey guys, welcome back to Your Lake Fork Guide, another episode of the Guides Network. Today we're going to talk about arguably the most time-tested, standby, consistent winter bait that you could possibly use in the South. Let's talk about fishing a lipless crankbait. Hey guys, don't forget to go download the brand new app, Fish Life, for the very best information you can possibly find. It's linked below in the description. Go get it. Alright guys, we're going to talk about fishing a lipless crankbait. When I'm talking about lipless crankbait, or any hard baits for that matter, I'm talking about 6 Sense Fishing. They are a company that makes nothing but high quality, top end type of tackle. The fit and finish, the paint jobs, the hooks, everything's going to be top of the line when you get anything from 6 Sense Fishing. And you'll see with these lipless crankbaits, it's no different. The model that I'm using is the Quake 70, the Quake 70 Thud, and sometimes when I want to step it up and fish some deeper water, I'll even go to that Quake 80. So to kind of break down what each one of these is for you, the Quake 70 is a traditional multi-BB rattle system, and the Thud is a one knocker. Completely different sounds. There's also a slight difference in the weighting of the baits. The Quake 70 with the traditional BBs is 5/8 ounce. The Quake Thud is a 1/2 ounce bait. Same thing in the 80 series. The regular Quake 80 is going to be 7/8, and the Quake 80 Thud is going to be 3/4 ounce. As you can see in some of these baits down here, my color selection is pretty simple. There's a lot of things you can do with color. Mostly in the wintertime, I'm going to have craw patterns, I'm going to have shad patterns. This one right here is called Ghost Hot Herring, but it's just a shad pattern. Like, there's a lot of shad patterns. You can pick the ones that are unique to you. Now, one thing about 6 Sense, they make a lot of great paint jobs, a lot of great paint options in the Quake line of baits. So you can pick whichever one's tailored to you. If you like a little blue for the shad on your lake, or you like a little bit of chartreuse stripe, you can get a Sexify shad. Like, there's a lot of options out there. I like a little purple, little pink is a color that I tend to lean on out here in Deep East Texas. That seems to do really well. So that's the color right there for the shad pattern that I choose. Now, a secondary shad type pattern that we use a lot in the wintertime, especially when water gets super, super cold and you got a bright sunny day, the old gold reactor, a gold chrome finish, has traditionally been kind of a secret deal, but the secret's kind of out now. But gold chrome is a phenomenal color throughout the winter months as well. And when it comes to the craw patterns, everybody says a red trap. It's really not red that you throw. It's actually orange and goldish, or a blend of somewhere in between is what you throw. If you see here, this is kind of a faded orange trap, has gold stripes, it has a bright orange belly. That's always something I'm looking for, is that orange belly. That thing's vibrating and flashing, and that seems to draw a lot of attention. This one right here is known as Wild Lava Craw, just another great craw pattern. Kind of has a two-tone deal. That's a big deal as well. Gives it that flash we're talking about as it's vibrating. A lot of orange on this one. Really like that color as well. Now, this year we've had a lot of rain. Last year, later in the winter, we had a lot of rain towards the end of January, early February, and even into March. Well, when you get a lot of rain, that water gets real dirty. Well, one thing that I picked up last year and was a huge success, I caught a ton of big fish on this bait last year, was the Tiger Truce color. Orange on top, chartreuse on bottom, really bright, really loud, but when that water gets real dirty in the cold water, you can still catch them on that Tiger Truce Quake 70. Alright, let's talk about the rod, reel, and line setups. Now, there's actually 2 different setups that I'm going to use when I'm throwing a lipless crankbait. The first one's going to be for East Texas. Got all this grass out here, a lot of heavy vegetation in these lakes. Boy, those fish will bury up in it. And when I'm going to be throwing this bait and ripping it out of grass a lot, fishing a lot of grass with it, I like to fish it on braid. I like to actually use 30-pound braid, and I use a 7.3 heavy Lux Series rod. Now what that does, that's a heavy setup for a treble hook bait. The one thing about it, you really have to watch the way you set the hook, and I'm going to show you how to set the hook on this rig later. But the one thing that this does is it keeps you so efficient in the grass. It makes it to where you can just give it a little snap or a little snap of the reel handle, and that bait will pop right through that grass, and you're not fighting it, and that grass doesn't wad up on it nearly as bad. So it keeps you a lot more efficient, helps you keep your bait in a strike zone, in a strikeable position more often, which leads to more bites. Now, if I'm fishing a little more scattered vegetation or even no vegetation, guys, lakes with no vegetation, lipless crankbaits still work in the wintertime. I'm actually going to use 17-pound fluorocarbon and the 7.4 medium heavy with a moderate tip rod. It's actually the square bill, custom square bill rod in the Lux series. That rod's got a lot of bend in the tip, but it's got some length so I can make a long cast and cover a lot of water. But that tip's going to help me keep those fish hooked up, not throw those treble hooks. One thing that's going to remain the same on both these setups is I always want a medium gear ratio type reel. 6.3 to 1, 6.2 to 1, somewhere in that range. The reason why is depending on the depth that I want to use, I'm going to control the depth of my reel handle. We'll show that to you in a minute when I'm working the bait. But it's really important for me to have a big variance and be able to go slow or go real fast. So somewhere in the middle is going to allow me to do both the best. All right, so on areas, I'm going to talk to you on areas today about how I fish grass flats in the wintertime. Drains, creek channel bends, lanes in the grass are a big deal. Any type of subtle elevation change that makes that grass scatter out, that's where we're going to focus. You don't want that grass to just be solid, thick grass. Now, if there's a gap, you can still use it. But when that grass gets real thick, you can't really rip that bait out of the grass. And when I'm fishing grass with a lipless crankbait, I want to be contacting the grass. I want to be ripping it out of it. That's when you're going to get most of your bites. So what I look for is these drains that lead into here, or these creek channels that lead into here, and anywhere they make a bend or another creek channel joins one, man, that just creates multiple elevation changes and really groups up the fish, and it also gives you more edges for that grass to start scattering out on. And that's where you want to focus your time. That's where you want to get that lipless crankbait in there. When that grass starts scattering out, you can throw it and hit a piece of grass and rip, and then reel a little bit and hit a piece of grass and rip. That's the most effective way to fish a lipless crankbait in the grass. That's where you can get most of your bites. All right, now let's get up here and talk about the real important stuff. How do we work this bait through grass efficiently? How do we set the hook to make sure that we land all of our fish on a lipless crankbait? Okay guys, one of the big advantages of the lipless crankbait is just how much ground you can cover. You can cover so much water so fast. So you want to make sure you're taking advantage of that, making super long casts. Once I've got that bait out there a good ways, I'm going to go ahead and point my rod at an almost straight out to slightly up angle. What that's going to do is give me the proper amount of leverage for when that bait hits grass to rip it. If I'm holding my rod way up here, I got no power. If I'm holding my rod down, I don't have the power that I need. See, I just hit grass right there and it loaded up on my bait. It allowed that rod tip to bend more, and that grass wadded up around my bait, and I didn't get it ripped out. So now I've got grass all over my bait. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. That's what happens when you try to rip from the wrong angle. It gets all wadded up around you because your rod bends too much and you don't have the right leverage. So now I'll come through that same stretch of grass with my rod at the right angle, and I'll be able to rip it free, and it won't bring any grass back. That's also going to give me that good jumping action out of that grass that's going to get my bites. See there how I'm just ripping it? As soon as I hit the grass, as soon as I feel it. That's an important part too, is paying attention to when that bait's coming up. That's an important part too, is paying attention to when that bait is just about to hit the grass, when you can kind of feel it loading up. As you can see, if you catch it in time early and you give it a little twitch, it'll come back clean as a whistle. Now, with this heavy setup, you're going to be real efficient in the grass. That's why I can just do this and rip it and it comes clean. But when I get a bite, I have to be cognizant of the fact that I can't go to set the hook like this right here, okay? Guys, I have to turn into them. So when I'm reeling along and I get a bite, all I want to do is start reeling a little faster, let it load up and turn, and burn my reel handle a little bit. That's how you're actually going to dig that hook in, is burning that reel handle. If you guys watched the chatterbait video that we did just a couple weeks ago, then you'll know that a lot of this is real similar. It's the same thing. We're throwing a moving bait, making it contact grass, ripping it out of the grass to get reaction bites, and at the same time, when we got this heavy setup that's efficient in grass, we got to be easy with that hook set. So with the fluorocarbon setup, it's going to be a little bit different. You know, we're going to be throwing this in sparser vegetation or maybe no vegetation at all. So once I've got this bait out there with the fluorocarbon setup, you really just want to kind of point your rod slightly down and just reel. Now, when you get a bite on this, you can go ahead and swing a little bit because we got that medium heavy rod with that moderate action on the tip. So it's gonna be a lot easier for you to, you're gonna be a lot less likely to rip those hooks away from that fish. So whenever I get a bite on fluorocarbon, I'm just gonna go ahead and swing. You can go ahead and get them in, and you got that good rod, so you can kind of horse them in and let the bend of that rod do the work and be the shock absorber for you. Look here, boys. Look at there. Oh, 6 cent Quake 70 right there. Gone, son. Oh my God! Oh, God! Golly! Yeah! Oh. This might go 10. We're fixing to put it on the scale. This fish right here might be 10 pounds. We just need one more bite. We fixing to win this tournament in the first hour, Jack. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bigger. Oh, it's bigger than 5. Fish, watch this. Go. Tiger Truths, Quake 70, 6 inch lures. Alright guys, so get over to 6centsfishing.com, which is linked below in the description, by the way. Get yourself some Quake 70, Quake 70 thuds. Hey, one thing about it, you're going to get a top-notch paint job. You're going to get awesome hooks. You don't have to change a thing about it. You pull it out of the package. It's ready to fish. It is a top-of-the-line bait, as good as you'll find on the market anywhere. And when you go get those, be sure when you get on the checkout screen down there in the promo box, punch in that code, Your Lake Fork Guide. Get yourself a 10% discount on all orders. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, right here on Your Lake Fork Guide. I got like 3 hooks in my hand right now.